Hey everybody, you have caught wares. That countdown was a little faster than I was expecting. But welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking? I am Fabrizio. I will be inking. It's Saturday at 3 o'clock, so this is not my usual time. I think I have cornered the market on sleepy streams on Sunday afternoon, so we'll see how this goes. Any issues with the audio, let me know. Alrighty. Same music every time? Different? Alrighty. Hey, Creative Faye, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. Kibo, hey, what's up? Hope everybody's doing well. Ara, hey, how's it going? Yeah, so I have a convention tomorrow. If you're around the Pittsburgh area, it is Helltown Brewery, which, give me a moment. It's not in Pittsburgh, but it's in the South. So I'll post a link on Twitter. It is a one-day only con, and it's free admission, which is pretty cool. So the tables were pretty cheap, and it's 5 hours from 12 to 5 o'clock. Let me just double check on that, though. So if you're nearby, stop in. I believe that the vendors are sold out, so it should be a packed house. Here we go. It's put on by New Dimension Comics, Helltown Comic Con, Sunday the 2nd, 12 to noon, free admission. As far as the address, it is 101 West Pike Street, Houston, PA 15342. So stop in. That should be fun. I'll try to do a stream or at least say hi from there. We'll see, though. Things hopefully will be chaotic, but maybe they won't. I will have the first 3 issues of Horace H. Hoover to sell. Issue 1, 2, and 3. Totally in about, I think, 99 pages for these. So you can get them on HoraceHoover.com, or you can get the collected version on Amazon. So just Google or just search for Horace Hoover on Amazon. Those are pretty cool. I've been selling some of those, and I think people will like the paper quality and the print quality of those, especially if you're international. You just save so much on shipping and things like that that it really makes it worth it. Great 3 issues. Loved them all. Looking forward to more. Thanks, Ara. I appreciate that. Yeah, I am currently working on issue 4. So just a status of that. I'm penciling page 29. The last, which is sort of like the last scene, this is a wrap-up of everything, is pretty intense. There's a lot of panels. There's a lot of detail. Part of me wishes I was drawing in the Image days where you could just ignore backgrounds entirely and just have, a giant full-page splash of somebody doing some karate move or something. But anyway, I'm working on those. So those are turning out really well. I don't want to rush them. I was hoping to get this done by the spring, but we'll see. I don't want to rush it. I mean, this is the wrap up of these 3 issues, so it's really got to kind of nail the landing. I'm also working on some other things that has been kind of fun. So I've been doing some commissions. I did some trading cards for a book. I did some other commissions that hopefully we'll see on Twitter kind of pop up. I've been selling resin models, which I have an eBay and an Etsy page with resin models, including Horace H. Hoover and Frankenstein and Sasquatch and things like that. So if you're into resin models, check that out. So I've been doing a few things. Comics is one of them, which I do love, but this year I'm going to try to kind of branch out a little bit. It's fun having different projects. That way I can, you don't make a ton of money doing comic books, but, you sell a few comics here, a few sculptures there, a few commissions there. It's nice. So anyway, that's a status. Might as well get into inking, huh? Hey, Ben, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. Nice. Glad Amazon's working out for you. I'll be hitting you up on some tips dealing with Amazon. Yeah, sure. I had to relay out my entire book, mainly because it was collected, but I pulled back the saturation by like 18%, which I think really helped. So any future printings I do, I think, because you got to get to know your printer, and I think the prints look great, but sometimes depending on the paper, you want to just kind of pull that saturation back. So it's worthwhile. Alrighty, so I started this a couple weeks ago, the inks for this. And just a real quick summary. This is sort of basically just concept art for a book, a story I would like to do eventually. You know, whenever I'm coming up with an idea, I like just to do concept art, and sometimes doing some finished concept art really like can solidify the idea in your head. So this is the concept art. So I just wanted to do some characters, very unique character designs that I could kind of envision in this particular setting, which is, we'll say, silent movie era. And then once I do the inks, I'll kind of let it sit for a bit, and then maybe actually try to craft an issue. Maybe it's a one-shot, maybe it's a graphic novel. I don't know yet. So this is just something fun that can help that whole process. And plus, the one thing I really like to do is, you know, as I'm working on Horace H. Hoover, for example, I have a few other ideas of stories I want to do. And it's nice to not necessarily focus on them, but have them just right in your peripheral vision. And that way, like, ideas and scenes and characters are actually, I find, easier to come up with if you let it kind of percolate, not like in front of your face the whole time, which was a terrible way to describe that, but certainly exciting to see the next issue. Quality can take time, but it's worthwhile. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think about Brian Boland doing Killing Joke and other stuff, but he was talking about the Killing Joke in particular. And he even said that when he was doing it, he's like, this is going to be like my greatest work. Like he knew that this would be the best thing he ever does. So he really took his time. And, you know, because of that, we talk about it all these years later. So I'm not saying I'm Brian Boland or that this is going to have that sort of staying power, but why not at least give it that sort of attention? Because we're not full-time comic artists, and you got to pick and choose what you work on. If we were doing this full-time, then, you know, you're sort of cranking out pages, cranking out ideas, and hoping that one of them hit. But if we only have time for one book a year, hopefully that's good. Trying to think if there's anything I'm reading that is worthwhile to discuss. I started a new novel series by David Stewart. I don't really read a lot of fiction novels, especially fantasy. It's just really not really my genre per se. But I follow him. He's on YouTube, David Stewart. Really interesting guy, a lot of great information about, I found him through guitar, but he's a writer, so he has books on Amazon. He just has a lot of good information. So I started following him. It's been years at this point. And I'm like, you know what? I've been listening to his advice all these years. You know, I should actually buy one of his books and read it. Part of me was a little reticent to do that because, you know, what if they're not any good? So what if I've been listening to advice from someone who, you know, when put into practice, it's really not working, or at least for me. And I think it's a legitimate fear. It's different with art because you can see, if I give somebody advice, not that I give advice, but on art, you can see the art I'm doing and you can make up your mind pretty quickly. Like, well, I don't want my art to look like Fabrizio's, so why would I listen to him? Which is totally fair. Anyway, long story short, it's pretty good. And I highly recommend his YouTube channel. I don't have it in front of me, but it's David Stewart. He's a smart dude. He has a lot of good information about, like I said, writing, music, all sorts of stuff. I was on John's Long Box last night, and we tried to do an art auction. And we had pretty low expectations just because we didn't really push it that much on social media. It was just something that we talked about briefly, and then we figured we'd give it a try on Friday. So we didn't really get any bids for anything. It was pretty short. I think we did it for an hour. But it was still fun. Just showing current artwork. I think that's a lot of fun. So even if it only ends up turning into be that, like, come on the show, show something you're working on, sort of, or something you just finished, maybe pencils or concept art or whatever the case may be. Yeah, so I thought that even if it doesn't end up being like a sort of a traditional auction or workout, I think at minimum it's a pretty cool place to share artwork. So I'd say keep an eye out for that. Maybe I'll show some of the cards I did. I thought they were kind of funny. I did some mashups of Horace H. Hoover and H.P. Lovecraft, which I've never actually done, which is a little weird. I always talked about doing a mashup, but one is the Statement of Horace H. Hoover, and one is called The Horace in the House, based on the picture in the house. I thought they were pretty fun. Sketch arts are a lot of fun to do for a few reasons. One is they're really affordable. If you want a piece of original art, you can get sketch cards pretty cheaply, depending. Some are they might bump up in price because they're painted and colored and, they took a long time, but usually you can get them. They're pretty affordable. So it's a good way to have original artwork if you're looking for it. As far as doing them, they're a lot of fun to do because, you can play around with stuff. Like I said, do a mishmash of Horace H. Hoover and Lovecraft, or I did A Christmas Carol with Horace H. Hoover, which was probably my most favorite set that I've ever done. I think I did 9 of them. So it just kind of gives you something fun, a little different. You can do different characters, but I like to play around with the Horace H. Hoover stuff. So I don't know who this guy is here, but I dug it. And it's one of those deals where you're just looking at an image, a character, and you start to mentally you can't help it, even if you're not a writer, you're going to start to come up with an idea of who this character is. Because your brain is trying to explain what things are. Why does he have one horn? Is that a horn? What is this symbol on his forehead? It's natural. So I think doing the image first before you have all of that set up, it's kind of a hack or a shortcut, because your brain is just going to be curious about what it is. Instead of forcing yourself to be like, okay, I need to write a story about a character, you do the drawing of something visually interesting, and then your brain is like, what is that? Why does he have this? My New Year's resolution, not that I do them, is to use more blacks in my artwork. It's really something that, not that I struggle with, but I leave it to the end sometimes. And I think sometimes it's really just to go in pretty boldly and do the blacks. So I think I can't really change midstream with Horace H. Hoover, obviously, with how I draw. So all of the things that I sort of learned over the past couple of years, I can't really incorporate into the latest issue of Horace H. Hoover. So it won't be until the next book I do that I'll be able to really experiment with all of the things that are sort of popped up as I'm doing Horace H. Hoover. Oh, I should really, handle action this way, or I should draw people that way, or whatever it is. Because there's a lot of that happens, and I have to sort of tell myself that, I can't. If I do that right in the middle of this mini-series, it'll be really jarring. So I have to make sure that I just remember for the next project. And what I'll probably do is, as soon as I'm done with issue 5 of Horace H. Hoover, I'll sort of kind of get back into study mode for a bit. So I'll spend, a couple weeks, month, we'll see, and just study a topic or an artist and really try to level up as much as I can before I start the next project. Because it'll definitely be different, style-wise. I mean, it'll still look like my artwork, but it'll definitely be different. Whenever I do the collected 5-issue graphic novel, which will be pretty big, probably 200 pages, you won't be able to see a progression from issue 1 to 5. But hopefully it's not too jarring. I can promise myself this. There won't be giant libraries or houses made of books where I have to draw hundreds and hundreds of books. That's not going to happen in the next project book I do. It would be nice to collaborate with more people on whatever project or projects I do moving forward. That way I could potentially get more out quickly, but we'll see. Kibo, speaking of collaboration, I'm still working on that thing I mentioned a while back. Jeez, you might have to remind me. My brain. I feel like I have a million things. Yeah, you might have to remind me. I do have a card game that I wanted to put out. What other things? I did finish the Max sculpture. So Horus H. Hoover has a friend named Max, and I did a sculpture, a ZBrush sculpture last year, but I never finished painting it because I was working on the comic. But I did do a final render and paint job for that. And hopefully, we'll see, if I crowdfund issue 4, then that might be one of the stretch goals. So I could actually have Max, it'd be like a 5-inch, he's a short character, so maybe even 4.5-inch resin model for him. That has to be manufactured. Essentially what they do is they do a 3D print, and then do molds and castings of it. So it does take quite a bit of time to do that, though. Cool. Yeah. Like I said, I have so many things that sketches and ideas and to-do notes, and I miss stuff for sure. It was pretty bold on the face there to put that much hatching, but it all depends on how much hatching you put everywhere else too. So I really wanted to really show his facial structure, and the only way to do that is actually to go in and do actual hatching. I'm fortunate to have my brother and a couple of close friends who are artists help me push books out. I couldn't do it alone. Yeah, I mean, now I know people. I've met a lot of people over the years, but when I started, I knew literally nobody that did comics. So, I wonder what I would have done. It would have been nice to have some help, even if it was coloring or lettering or something. So yeah, the next projects I do, maybe it would be nice to have a little help. Yeah, I saw your post about the 2 projects you're doing this year, Ben, and I'm very excited about them. right now. If I can get issue 4 and 5 done, I have to. There's no. I will be done by the end of 2025 with issue 4 and 5. Even if issue 5 is a little shorter, I've allowed issue 3 to kind of balloon up to 36 pages, and then issue 4's 36-7 pages. Issue 5 is going to be a one shot and try to do like a typical 24 pages kind of thing, which going into it, if I set that limit, I think that's the only way that'll work, instead of coming up with the story first and then just letting the story balloon. Everybody does that, though. I am not alone in that, I understand. But it's also a nice, it's nice to put limits on yourself and see if you could adhere to telling a full story, interesting and exciting, in 24 pages. I mean, all the old timers had to do it. Why don't we, Need to get this building started. In retrospect, as I think about Horace H. Hoover and the past few issues, the one thing without a doubt that has taken up the most time has been backgrounds and details like that. It's been not a struggle, because I'm sort of an architecture nerd, so I love that stuff, but it's undeniable that that's taken up the most time. And if I would have limited locations and things like that, it would have taken far, far less time to do it. The one story that I have in mind, in between, Horace H. Hoover volumes, we'll call them, and I've talked about this before, it's sort of like a dark fantasy, but it's set in the mountains, it's set in, like, we'll say 900s, so architecture is mostly simple. If let's just say I don't need a ruler to quickly draw in a small town. Ben, yeah, working on short stories for my anthologies forced me to cut out the fat and storytelling and get to the point quicker. Yeah, man, is that hard, though. But it's true. The two things I fall back on, and I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, is I bump up the panels on a page if I really need to get in and tell some sort of a dense story. I have been doing that, which is actually, I like it because it varies the pace of a book quite a bit. And sometimes those small panels, you can tell a lot in them, but, playing with time, it just varies the story enough to make it feel like something happened. I think there's a lot of comics where I just open it up, I kind of flip through it, I read it, even though there's not much dialogue, and then it ends. And I don't feel like anything happened. But I think if you really start to play with the panel layout, numbers and structure, and you can really make it have an impact. I think, if I think about comics with high panel counts, the one that always comes to mind is Frank Miller's early stuff. Like the Wolverine stuff. Man, I don't know. I would say average panel count his average has got to be 9. It would be interesting to count up like panels per page on some famous comics and see how they stack up. So I actually need to head out early today. I know it's only been 37 minutes, but I'm going to have to head out at 45. Get ready for the convention tomorrow. But I got some work on this done. Yeah, I'm going to have to head out early today. But this was fun. I know it's a Saturday. Usually people are out and about. I think Saturdays is for returning Amazon packages, right? Isn't that the official day for it? Saturdays. Alrighty. Let's go over the whole thing again. We have finished this guy. He's sort of like a Amish beard looking guy with a straight razor. This guy with, I'm not going to get into what he's got on him. The main dude, and you'll see here that he's sort of got a mask hanging from his belt, his pouch belt thing. I have an idea of his character, what he'll be doing. Oh, hey John, how's it going? I'm actually heading out. I gotta head out early today for I gotta go pack stuff for the convention tomorrow. But thanks for popping in. And then we have Praying Mantis Lady, who can't go wrong with her. And then you have this guy who is like, I don't know. I focused on his nails last time, that he had these big flat fingernails. Oh, hey DC Miller, how's it going? I'm late and watching on delay, half hour behind. Glad you supported David Stewart. Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool dude. Yeah, but anyway, thanks again, everybody. I won't be streaming tomorrow because I'll be at the convention, but the next stream after that, I'll kind of give everybody an update on that. Hopefully it goes well. We'll go from there. All right. Hope everybody has a good rest of the weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye.